Stopped.
Stop. No, no, no.
Okay, we're back on.
Yes.
So the most important thing that we're talking about today, as I said, is our book. We have 22 proposals, all of which have been accepted. Everybody here has proposed and has been accepted. It's a fascinating, I can see the book already, even though it doesn't exist. I can see because I've seen all the topics. So before we even talk about what we're going to do in our book, I want to explain the idea behind it because it is very special. Usually books about history talk about history. And it doesn't make a difference what the topic is. It can be the history of Poland, and it can be the history of Hungary, and the history of Israel, and the history of the United States, and it can be medieval history, and my husband works on ancient history. History is history. However, because I have been a historian for many, many, many years, too many years that I don't even want to think about it, but because I've been working in the field for so many decades already, I had the privilege when I was very, very young to meet historians who 40 years ago were very, very old. And we're talking about people who were born more than 120 years ago. And I had the privilege not just of studying with them, but of meeting them, because as I said, I started a very long time ago. And one of the things that always interested me was not just the history that they're writing, but I used to ask, why are you writing about this? And they would look at me and say, what kind of a question is that? And I would say, no, I want to understand all the topics in the world. You want to be a historian. I also want to be a historian. The difference is that you're already a historian and I'm just starting. But why did you choose this topic? And they would look at me and say, again, what do you mean? And I would sit with certain people for hours and say, is it because it's something family? Is it because it's something personal? Is it something that when you were studying, you heard a teacher talk about it and you got excited about the subject? I mean, my husband works on ancient history. Why does it interest him? It's not his family, that's for sure, no matter how old he is. But he said it straight out when he was in high school, in the last year of high school. He had a professor who then became a big university professor, but he was teaching for a year in high school. And studying with this professor, he fell in love with history. He always wanted to be a doctor. And he said that year he saw that he was not going to be a doctor, he was going to be a historian. Now, for him to go and tell his parents, who were sure that he was going to be a doctor, that he's decided that he's going to study history, ancient Jewish history. His parents, my in-laws, looked at him like he was crazy. You're not going to be a doctor? I mean, everybody in the family is either a doctor or a lawyer, but you want to be what? And he said, I'm going to be a professor of ancient Jewish history. And he did 50 years later. So that explains one story. What interested me was not just what people wrote, but what they didn't write. What drew them to the topic? What happened to them after they got to the topic? Did they decide to change? How did their family react? How did their friends that they were studying with react when they chose a topic? Not every topic is easy or acceptable in all societies. So how did their colleagues react? Did they have a hard time with it? Were they encouraging them? Did they discourage them? And what were their decisions along the way? In other words, most of us who work in history, our path isn't straight. It's not smooth sailing. We have all sorts of problems on the way. What happens as a result? Do we decide to change topics? Do we get even more entrenched in our topic and say, no, nobody's going to take it away from me? In other words, the historian and not just the history. So as I said, that was a personal interest of mine. And for many years, I wrote history like everybody else. But at a certain point, when I became director of the Finkler Institute of Holocaust Research at Bar-Ilan University, for the first time, I could write or I could edit whatever interested me. And this was it. I was a full professor. I was, as my husband likes to say, you're a full tenured professor. You can do whatever you want. And I said, okay, what do I really want to do? And I said, I want to put together books that are not only about history, but about the people behind it, the historians. So 3 years ago, we put out our first book from one of our forums. We have a forum called Women in the Holocaust, but it's not about women during the Holocaust. It's women who study the topic and who teach the topic of women during the Holocaust. And I said to them, before we put out a history book, I want to put out a historian's book. And they looked at me and they said, what do you mean? And in those days, that was before Zoom and before Corona, so people could actually look at each other. And we were sitting in one room in New York. And I said, we're going to put out a book about why you chose this topic and what it did to you. And we actually did. If you wait 1 second, I'm going to take it out of the bookcase. And here it is. It's the same color as my dress, so you can't really see it too well. But here it is, the book. And it's called Her Story, My Story, Writing About Women and the Holocaust. And in it, we've got how many chapters? A lot of chapters. A lot of chapters. Maybe 30 chapters about women who chose this as a topic and who decided to write about it. It was fascinating. For the first time, these historians all said, and they're from all over the world. We have historians from America, from Canada, from Poland, from France, from Hungary, from Israel, from Germany, from Belgium. And they all said, okay, what do we have in common? Our topic, but were our experiences different? And that was the most fascinating thing that I had done until then. I edited the book together with Professor Dalia Ofer of the Hebrew University, who, along with me, was one of the first historians to write in Israel about women in the Holocaust. And you know what happens? It's like you taste something and it's so good that you want to have some more. So we finished this book and I said, I want to do it again. And so we did it again with a second forum. And I'm going to get up again and show you the book. Here it is. This is already a different color. This is the book Researchers Remember, and it's called Research as an Arena of Memory Among Descendants of Holocaust Survivors, a collected volume of academic autobiographies. And here's a picture of one of them who was a doctor. These were researchers of all kinds, not just historians. We have people who do legal research and genealogical research, historical research. We have physicists, we have doctors, we have people from all fields. Their common denominator is that A, they were all children or grandchildren of Holocaust survivors. B, they were all members of the forum called Researchers Remember. And C, that they all had a personal story that was interesting to tell. The way that I got them to write this book was I would approach somebody from the forum and I would say, are you interested in participating in a book about? Now, if they would say, I want to think about it, I say, forget it. Okay, no. If they would say, it looks interesting, maybe. But the people who we chose, and this is a forum that has 250 people, so I had a lot of choice. So you had to answer in a very specific way. If you said, if you said, of course I do, you were in. And if you said, of course I do, before I even finished the sentence, then I knew you would really do it. And that's exactly what happened. We put out the book, first in English with 30 academic autobiographies, and then we put it out in Hebrew with 20 different people, not the same from the first book. And the book was a tremendous success. Again, we didn't talk about the research, we talked about the researchers. Together with that, from our other forums, we put out the usual research books. We have a forum called Jews Saving Jews, about Jews who saved other Jews during the Holocaust. And we put out a book of scholarly articles from that forum. And we're doing the same from another forum. And now we finally come to our book here, the book of the Poland Forum. When Leah and I started talking about what type of book we want to put together, I said, this time, we're living in a different time. If I have to give two headings for the past 2.5 years of Corona, there would be Zoom and hybrid, because that's what we all did. Either we moved all of our work into Zoom, or we did whatever we were doing in a hybrid form. In other words, some face-to-face, and at the same time, some using some type of electronic technology. So I said, I want this to be a hybrid book, not just another, so who are we and what makes us tick and why we're writing, but a combination. In other words, what we have at the end, when we gave out the call for papers, if you remember correctly, it was an open call. You could put in a proposal about your research. You could put in a proposal about a project that you were doing, Or you could put in a proposal about yourself, why you chose to do what you are doing. And in other words, what makes you tick? What is it that interests you? What happened when you took on the subject? We got, as I said, 22 proposals. And what was even more interesting, it was divided up a third, a third, and a third. So when Leah and I put the book format together to approach publishers, and we've already approached 2 of them, and we have a third publisher who's interested, but that publisher wants money. And we're looking for a publisher who's willing to do it without our contributing money. So we're trying, and these are all, I don't want to mention names, but they're all excellent publishers, excellent academic publishers. Just some are more poor and others are less poor. So the poor ones want some money from us. Anyhow, when we put together the proposal, we divided it into 3 sections. Section 1 is history. It's the history of Jews in Poland, or what I call Polish Jews or Jews in Poland. It's 2 different things. Between the beginning of the previous century and the end of the Holocaust, in other words, from, let's say, 1900 to 1945, we're talking about most of the wars, 1944 in some parts of Poland, 1945 in others. That's the first section. The second section is also history, but it deals with a later period. Unlike in some countries where the history of the Jews in that country was over in 1945 because there were very few Jews left, almost none. In Poland, the story is different. We all know what happened, that after the war, not only do you have Jews who survived in Poland during the war, you have the repatriates who were coming back from the Soviet Union and who some stayed in Poland because it was their home. That's where they came from in the first place. So you have them, then you have the first wave of immigration, 1948, very small, 1956 is bigger, and then you have the 1968 immigrants, and you have those who continue to live in Poland. But on the other hand, you also have historians who, some Jewish, some not Jewish, who are writing about that period as a historical period. So our second historical grouping in the book, the second group of articles, deals with Jews in Poland, or studying Jews in Poland from 1945 up till today. The third part of the book already leads us back to the historians, because the third part of the book is about us, either who we are and why we're working on the topics we're working on, or some people decided that they wanted to write more of a, not really an autobiography, but a family search. In other words, some people are historians who work on a historical topic, but parallel to that, they decided that they were also going to be doing research. Or a third group of people are people who are not doing their own family research, but as I said, they're either helping others do it, or they decided they were going to devote their career to working on some topic that has to do with Jews, Poland, Holocaust, whatever combination it is. Why did they choose that topic, or how did they choose it? It's not that somebody wakes up in the morning and says when they're 12 years old, I'm going to devote my life when I grow up to writing about the Jews in Poland during the 1940s. That usually doesn't happen. So when did it happen? When did all of you decide you're going to work on that topic? When did you decide that you weren't going to work on, you weren't going to write about whatever, Poland during the 18th century? You were not going to write about feudalism, but you were going to write about that. And how did it happen? And what happened after you made the decision? So we have a series of, I think, 7 or 8 members of the Poland Forum wrote that they want to write an article on such a topic. So, as I said, we divided the book into 3 sections. The first section deals with the history of the Jews in Poland, or Poland and its Jews, between 1900 and 1945. The second section deals with Poland and its Jews between 1945 till today. And the third section deals with us, the historians. who we are, what we're doing, why we're doing it, and various stories about what happened to us on the way throughout this journey. And this is the book that we've put together. And what we'll be doing during the next year is we'll all be working together. We'll have several Zooms that will be within the framework of the Poland Forum, but they'll only be open to people who are writing on the book, because it isn't just a general thing. It's for us to discuss our questions. Everybody, when they start writing, always has questions, problems. What do I put in? What don't I put in? If I put something in, is it going to be problematic? If I put in something problematic, how do I make sure that people understand correctly what I'm trying to write? In other words, we all have dilemmas. And the purpose of our getting together once every, let's say, 2 months or so, in a short Zoom, half an hour, will just be to discuss what our problems are, how we're trying to solve them, and to hear from each other where we are. Another reason for having those Zooms, and all of you have written before, so you know what I'm talking about. There is a wonderful expression in all languages. I know how to say it in 5 languages, but I don't know how to say it in Polish, so you'll translate it for me. It's that man proposes and then a higher power decides it's going to be something very different. In French, it's l'homme propose, Dieu dispose, same thing. So I'm sure it exists in Polish also.
Ja myślę, że można mówić to jak człowiek robi plany i Bóg śmieje się, tak?
Exactly. Yes.
Można powiedzieć, że Pan Bóg, człowiek strzela, a Pan Bóg kulę nosi.
Tak. I na jidysz mówi to a mens tracht in God lacht.
It's the same in all languages, and it's because the emotion behind it is universal. It happens to all of us. Now, what does this have to do with our book? We have a deadline. When we sign with a publisher, we're going to have a deadline when we have to give in the book. So as you know, we've already sent, and we will send out yet another letter to you telling you when you have to give us your article. One of the things that happens in the academic world is that people tend to put such letters away and not to think about it. And then all of a sudden they get a letter 2 weeks before the date and they say, oh no, I'm going to need an extension for another month, 2 months, 3 years, 14 years. No, that doesn't work with me. And therefore, I am going to drive you crazy. All of you, you will be getting letters from me every 2 months. How is your progress? What are you doing? Is there a problem? And you will never be able to forget us. We will be sending you constant letters just to keep you on the deadline. And I can only tell you that until now, it has worked we have put out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 books from different forums. This is going to be our 8th book. We have 3 more on the way already that are sitting with the publishers. Everything has kept to the timetable. And the reason it keeps to the timetable is, as I said, we're going to work together. We're going to have workshops. We're going to have letters. I expect answers for my letters. And it works. And not only does it work, but nobody has left a forum as a result of my driving them crazy. That's the most amazing thing, because all of us need sometimes a reminder. This is what you promised you would do. Please keep to it. If you have a problem, talk to me about it now. So we are going, you will have a break over the summer, the next 2 months. Maybe you'll get an email from me asking you how you are and if everything is okay. But starting in September, when we move back into the academic year, you will be hearing from us constantly, and we will be getting together on short Zooms like this one. This is not just a regular forum meeting. This is all people who are going to be writing for the book. And that's what we're going to be doing. And if you don't have any problems and don't have any questions, it'll be an opportunity for all of us just to see each other from different countries, to get together, to hear how we are, and to get to know each other a little bit better. One of the things that I would say, besides the actual illnesses of people that with COVID are so terrible, one of the things that I miss the most is not traveling, because I'm what's called a high-risk group. So my doctor said to me, until the numbers really go down all over the world, you do not get on a plane. I wish I were in Warsaw now. I wish I were in Krakow now. I wish I were in Łódź now. I wish I were in New York now, but I'm not. So therefore, I have the picture of Sky Garden behind me, in London, which I also wish I were there. At least I see it on every Zoom so I can remember that there's a world outside. Being able to see all of you, whether you put up your picture or whether you don't put up your picture, or whether I actually see you, just knowing that you're there. For me personally, I think that's the most important thing. This is how we manage to make connections, to make friendships, to be together. And of course, when any of you come to visit here in Israel, I would love to see all of you, any of you, whenever we can do it. I'm sorry that I missed Ava on her trip, but any of you who are going to be coming, please let us know so that we can try to put together some type of a small get together, even if it's just meeting outdoors for a picnic or something. So I hope that I've given you a good outline of what the book is going to be all about and what we plan to do over the next year until the deadline, and also
the conference.
Oh yes.
Please mention it. The
conference.
Yes, for the future.
Right. This is what I need, Leah, for. Okay, another thing, we're going to be having a conference about the book, and it's going to be held together under the auspices of JICH. Next year, we already have a proposed date for it, the last week of June 2023. It's going to be a Zoom conference, just in case, so that we can all get together. And there, hopefully, everybody will be speaking about not so much the topic of what historical writing they're doing, but about themselves. Even those people who are going to be writing historical articles. Hopefully, this is going to be a personal conference where we get to know each other better. And we have a conference committee that is supposed to convene in the next few days. We're going to hear from the director of JICH exactly how we'll put it together. But mark the date in your calendar. I think it's either Tuesday or Wednesday. We haven't decided yet, of the last week of June. I can look up exactly what the date is. Do you remember if it's the 26th or the 27th, or is it the 27th and the 28th? In short, Tuesday and Wednesday, take a look at the calendar for next year. And hopefully all of you will be able to participate. As soon as we have a call for papers, everybody will get it. And so we will not only put out a book together, but we will have at least one, if not two conferences, because we're talking about having a face-to-face conference during the summer of 2024, when hopefully COVID will be just a bad memory for most people in the world and won't be bothering us.
And so then, now, on 2020, in 2 years, Krzysztof promised a place in Warsaw that we can make the conference, maybe one day in the JICH and one day in your place, Krzysztof.
Yes, I want to confirm. It would be a great pleasure for me to host you in my culture center. It's quite new building, quite new institution. We have two different performing halls, small one and bigger one. Bigger one is for over 330 persons. Smaller one is for about 100 persons. So we have all facilities. It could be a big or small conference done in our institution. So it, as I said, it would be great pleasure and honor to organize one day or even more in our.
Oh, may I say, Krzysztof's place is better than JICH. So,
and maybe we can have one day in Łódź. Maybe one day in Łódź. Eva is with us. Maybe we can have this conference 3 days. Maybe one day JICH, one day at Krzysztof place, and one day in Łódź.
That would be wonderful.
You're always welcome in Łódź, always.
That would be wonderful, and I look forward to it. First, you have to write the articles for the book. After that, we have the conference in June 2023, and after that, we'll have the conference in the summer of 2024. It gives us all something to look forward to. And that's something that we all need these days, something positive, something good to look forward to, that we'll all be able to get together, have a conference, have a cup of coffee, and it'll be wonderful. So I open up the floor to questions if anybody has. And once again, I thank you all so much for being part of this forum. And I thank Leah from the bottom of my heart for all the hard work, because this forum would not exist without her. She is incredible. The amount of work that she does, the people that she knows, her kindness, her loveliness to put people together from all over the world and to do it with such grace, such intelligence, such a wonderful, don't listen, Leah, you're not supposed to listen.
No, I'm getting red.
It is a pleasure and a privilege to work with Leah and to work with all of you. And to be able to say that now we all have gotten to know each other and we'll get to know each other better, and to thank you all so much for being part of the forum, for being part of doing this together, and for all the things you're going to be doing in the future. I already thank you now for giving in your articles on time, because you will all give in your articles on time. Mark my words. Exactly. So I'm already thanking you for it now. And that's it. Questions, my friend.
Maybe who participate a little bit later have questions. I see Veronica, Stefan, welcome. Krzysztof, Eliyahu, I see you too. So if you have any questions, this is now the time to ask.
No questions? Okay.
Nobody knows where is in his article, in what part of the book, what part, because there are 3 parts. So probably you can guess where your article will be put.
But as soon as we have a publisher and everything is set, I will of course send all this material to you, and you'll see the outline of the book and who is writing what. No secrets, everybody will see where they are and where everybody else is. And I can just tell you that when I see the outline that we put together, I think it's tremendously exciting. I love the topics that everybody's working on. I think that every one of the topics is fascinating. If they're personal topics, if they're professional, personal topics together, I can't wait to read the articles. It is going to be absolutely marvelous. And I thank you all once again. So Leah, back to you if there's anything more that you would like to say, to add.
Again, to thank you all for being such a wonderful members. Again, Judy, the privilege that you were my supervisor to the PhD. You know, I finished 10 years ago already. Time is running. 10 years ago, I finished. And really, thanks to you, it was on time. And I really appreciate all the efforts of the Poland Forum members. And sometimes I'm sending you not one time the email, many times. I hope you are not getting angry on me, but this is the way to work. And I know that now Professor Jurek is in Jerusalem, in Israel. Until when you will be in Israel? August?
Yes, to the midst of August.
So maybe there will be the opportunity.
Maybe we can get together. That would be lovely.
Yes, that will be lovely. And we are planning also to bring to Bar-Ilan University the new film about sportsman Dariusz Popiela. Maybe you are in Poland, you heard about this film about this sportsman, the Olympic, which, you know, collect the matzevot and bring the matzevot to the cemetery. And it's now all over Poland, it does. So we hope that in October, in the 26th of October, we will have the film in Bar-Ilan. So maybe some of you come to Israel so you can participate. If not, I will try to ask. I hope that maybe Hybridi can do it, and then you can watch the film also, and then you can watch the discussion after the film. But if not, maybe they will let me to put the film on some website and you can watch it, and then we can have a discussion after the film. So let's see. And we are planning many programs, many things, as Judy mentioned, workshops, and we hope that our forum will be more and more active. I myself also working now on a new project about righteous among the nation, doctors righteous among the nation. I did not mention it to you, Judy, yet, because it's really new. Because from the 27,900 righteous among the nation, there were something like 300 doctors. And the majority of the doctors were from Poland. And it's very interesting subject that I'm trying now to work on it. So I hope that I will have the chance to bring it to the forum, to this the lecture about the topic. And I myself will visit again in Poland. I will be in August in Poland. And maybe we will have a chance to meet. And thanks again.
Thank you all. It's lovely seeing you. We should all have a healthy summer and a peaceful summer.
This is the most important. Health.
Yes.
Lots of health. And we will keep on doing our work with a smile, always.
Thank you again to all of you. Take care, and we'll see each other soon, either on Zoom or face-to-face. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, and take care, Carol. Lots of health. Stefan, how are you? How is in Berlin now? Everything is okay?
Yes, everything is okay, and it's very hot here. And
yes?
well, probably it's hotter in Israel, but and that's also my train broke down, so that's why I was late.
Okay, never mind. It's recorded. Now I will stop just a second.
No, I think I got the most important.